Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Variety's Awards Circuit. I'm Variety Senior Editor Michael Schneider.
And I'm Variety Senior Editor Danielle Turchiano. And today we're continuing our discussion of the 27th Annual SAG Awards. So this time we're going to talk about the comedy series ensemble category. And I think we should just dive right in with Netflix's Dead to Me.
Judy's back. Hi.
I thought Judy wasn't going to be in our lives anymore.
I talk a lot about, this show being beyond just the traditional straight comedy. They call it a traumedy. And there really are a lot of dark themes, things that are maybe traditionally unfunny, like murder and grief. And there's a complicated central female friendship at the core of the show. And this season really feels like the year where the second season really did expand what they were doing beyond just Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini's friendship, which again, still so central, and they both were nominated for individual performers. But this year we also got a new character from James Marsden in the surprise twin twist, and we went even deeper into the backstory of a character like Detective Perez and even Jen's kids. And so it really was that quintessential expansion of the ensemble, and I feel like maybe no better time to nominate this show.
You're right. They expanded that world, but at the heart of it was still those two characters going through murder and grief. And speaking of murder and grief, how about a twofer? We've got The Flight Attendant from HBO Max.
Why'd you clean it up? I don't know.
Starts out as a real interesting portrayal by Kaylee Cuoco, who's also nominated as female actor in a comedy. But it is the ensemble around her as well that sort of props her up. Folks like Mikhail Husman as Alex Sokoloff, playing a dead character throughout this series, popping up sometimes in complete makeup, looking dead other times, accompanying Kaylee Cuoco's character on this journey of discovery and self-discovery. You've got Zosha Mamet, you've got Rosie Perez. They're all sort of going through this self-discovery at the same time. And by the way, it's funny. I don't want to downplay the fact that there are very funny moments as well. But again, a very complicated series that was well worth the time. And at the heart of it was a great ensemble.
It feels like this is the best time in television because these comedies can go above and beyond just like jokes per page. The two we already mentioned, but also even The Great.
A toast to my new wife, the Empress of Russia.
It tells the story of Catherine the Great, who's played by Elle Fanning. In the first season, it really was the beginnings of the relationship between her and Peter III of Russia, played by Nicholas Hoult. But those beginnings very quickly turn into her decision and her plan to murder him, which again, maybe not something that a few years ago we would have been able to laugh at, but here we are and we laughed a lot. And the story was very sharp, but the actors always really elevated that material and the dialogue and the emotions. You felt maybe more sympathy sometimes for them than had you just read their actions or their words on the page. So that to me really feels like that's the reason this stands out here. And they had a great court around them of cast members who, similar to what you said about The Flight Attendant, we have this central couple, but everybody around them is propping them up, allowing this show to be funny by the reactions that they provide to some of the outlandish and, yes, at times terrible and cancelable behavior from the characters.
All right, so we just talked about three great but super dark comedies. So now let's bring a little more of light to the conversation. Of course, leading that conversation is Schitt's Creek.
What is happening?
Goes without saying, what an amazing ensemble on Schitt's Creek, starting with Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy, who are always great together in whatever they do. Of course, Dan Levy, you've got Emily Hampshire, Annie Murphy, Chris Elliott, who, could lead his own show, but is a supporting player here. And again, a part of this ragtag group of folks. What more can we say about Schitt's Creek that we haven't already said? It's been such an important show to enjoy right now during these dark times. And I think a lot of folks who hadn't been watching Schitt's Creek discovered it during the pandemic, and it was this real sort of antidote to everything else that we're experiencing right now in the world.
And, similarly, there's Apple TV Plus's Ted Lasso, which is the final nomination in the category.
The news from the other side of the Atlantic. AFC Richmond announced the hiring of their new manager, American football coach Ted Lasso.
It got so much attention at the Globes. Jason Sudeikis won comedy actor. Everybody just really latched onto it and binged it and told their friends, you told us all, we have to watch it, we have to watch it. And it's true, but so much of that conversation has been based around Jason. And he's great, don't get me wrong, but his character really started as NBC Sports promo, and so he was solo then, and here now he's surrounded by an incredible cast It's really nice to see everybody get celebrated at once. I find it really fascinating how, you have these heavyweights that are up against each other and they still manage to stand out, even up against each other. When he's in scenes with his boss, played by Hannah Waddingham, like you don't know where to look. They're both so good and they're on par and they raise the bar for each other. Brett Goldstein completely changed what we thought of his character would be. And so it's just a really fun comedy that makes you think, I think, a lot about relationships and how you can be better. And that's something I think we all, are thinking about these days. And is it a very important message, even though, we're laughing alongside what's happening.
All right. Well, now let's talk about our selections, our pick to click in this category. Danielle, what are you looking at?
Well, I am on the darker side of the spectrum, so I am going to go with Dead to Me from Netflix. A lot of the reasons I already talked about are why, just the fact that this is a season where we can celebrate this expansion of the ensemble, and they all really brought a new nuance to their role and to the show itself in season 2. We've talked a lot about Christina and Linda and their performances, and they are outstanding, but they are nominated alongside each other in that individual performer category. And I feel like that might see them splitting votes. And so here is a chance not only to celebrate them together, and they are, their partnership on the show is so essential to the show, but it's also, as we talked about, to celebrate everybody around them. You can't go wrong with this cast.
Yeah. What's funny is as the walls are starting to kind of close in on the two main characters, we're seeing the universe expand. And that was really fun and interesting to watch this season. Well, my pick, of course, going a little lighter, is Ted Lasso. It was such a revelation this year. And again, a lot of kudos to Jason Sudeikis as the title character. But the growth that we saw of all the characters this season, that was one of the things that was really feel good about Ted Lasso, is all the characters started at one place, and because they were impacted by the arrival of Ted Lasso, ended up in an entirely different place. Again, I think this is just the beginning of a long awards career for Ted Lasso. And I think that does it for this edition of Awards Circuit. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Schneider.
And I'm Danielle Turchiano.